So yeah, there's a couple of things that I was going to propose as a topic of conversation.
Okay.
I thought I got something on my desk, which is word of the day. So word of the day is bamboozle.
That's a good word.
It's to deceive by underhanded methods, dupe, hoodwink, or to confuse, frustrate, or throw off thoroughly or completely.
Well, I quite like the word hoodwink as well. That's a great one. All right.
So that's something that's completely not relevant to anything else that we'll talk about. But maybe if there's some way of fitting in the word bamboozle at some stage in the call, then that would be great.
Oh, this sounds like a challenge. How do we get the word bamboozle in? Okay.
So yeah, there's I guess a slight relevance to what we talked about last time in terms of the next topic of the call, which is information to hand down, and that is sort of the voice in your head which tells you can't do things, and also other people who also tell you that you can't do things, or sort of imply that you can't do things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've all heard them.
There's a good quote that I heard on this. I think it's Rob Moore who said that when people tell you can't do things, really they're saying that they can't do them. And I'd like to attribute the next one to someone, but I can't remember who said it. So it's a bit of a shame, but if I remember, then I'll put it in the description or the comments or something. And it is everyone has those types of thoughts or in their head, and the sort of environment where people say things. But the people who sort of achieve are the ones that are able to sort of try things and not worry too much about it not working properly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that makes total sense. If you never try something, it will definitely not succeed. In your head as a little idea that you never gave any opportunity for life to. So yeah, absolutely, you got to go with it, haven't you? If you don't attempt it, then it's a numbers game, isn't it? Really, I mean, some things will work and some things won't work, and you've got to attempt them to find out if they'll work or not. That's the only way you can ever really know for sure. So yeah, if anyone says don't do something, then you've got an absolute 100% guaranteed chance of failure, because if you don't try it, you're never going to get there. I mean, years and years ago, I went to Australia, and I remember in Australia there was a really cool advert on the back of a bus, which was in the outback of Australia, in a place called the Never Never, which is a great name for a place, isn't it? The Never Never. And the advert simply said, if you never go, you'll never know. And I thought, that's amazing, except why are they advertising that actually in the Never Never? But I never forgot it. I never forgot it. And I've kind of tried to use that as a bit of a motto to live by ever since, really. I was 19 when I saw that, and I still agree with it 100%. I don't know what you think.
Well, I was going to say there is a slight disconnect sometimes between the theory of us having this conversation and then the application of it.
In what way?
So, like, people, I could say these things, and also, someone might hear them, but when it comes to actually sort of not listening to that little voice or not hearing those people that tell you can't do things, there's a big difference between the information and then actually applying it.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
You have, obviously, in this case, but I think a lot of times people get caught out by that little voice that says, a little voice of doubt.
It's the doubt, and we all have self-doubt about everything, don't we? I mean, we have that self-doubt which stifles us, and I suppose it's a bit, you multiply that by all the other people around you. They all have the self-doubt, and maybe your best friends and family, and maybe they love you and they're worried about you, and they think, oh, don't do that, don't give up that job that you really hate. And spend the rest of your life, much better spend the rest of your life, feeling regret for the things you didn't do and be safe with your big mortgage and your debts than to possibly risk failure.
Yeah, that's another one I heard. Just on the topic of is that your brain is designed to keep you safe. It's not designed to give you the life of your dreams or something.
No, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, I suppose so. It's a survival thing. We wouldn't have been here for all those generations and generations and generations. Just a little cut back to the more recent podcast that we did. That's it. I mean, it's there to keep you safe. You're absolutely right. Yeah, and it's safe not to do anything, isn't it? Take no action. Stay in the status quo.
Mm.
But then you're going to end up with the status quo. You're going to not have any change. And if you have to overcome it, because if you've got these ideas, then it kind of means that you want to move into a different direction or a different space in your life. And if you don't take that action, you're not going to move into that space. Again, just a quote that I have no idea where it comes from, so it's kind of a little bit sad. But every great journey starts with a single footstep. I love that. That's great. You've got to just make that first step and then just keep on going.
To make sure that you're not bamboozled by these people.
You're not bamboozled. Well done. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is there anything in particular that sort of is making you think about that? Is there something that you yourself have this doubt, or people have expressed doubt to you about something that you've kind of recently thought about doing?
No, I just think that it's one of those things that is sort of a constant battle. It's not like you can ever get, well, maybe there is a point where you could get to the point where there isn't any doubt, but I think that's probably an unhealthy place to be rather than having some sort of doubt. But it's just it's interesting to sort of observe. So when you have, I think that if you can get to the place where you can observe those doubts and sort of try to be logical about or rational about whether or not they come from a good place or not, I think that's a good place to be.
I agree with you. I think I don't know where I got this from, probably from you or from a source that, you told me, read this book or something. And it's like, you should be trying to take yourself out of your comfort zone. You shouldn't be living in a comfortable place, because there's no growth in that comfortable place. There is only what you currently have. Now, I suppose a caveat to that is that if you are really happy where you currently are, then fine, good, go for it. But if you're not, or you want more, or you want to try something else, then you've literally got to take that step. And it's I suppose it's a bit of a procrastination thing as well, because it's just so easy to put off. If you've got a huge piece of work pending, it's just so easy to put off doing that work, because it's just such a big thing, and I can't do it. And so you're going to bamboozle yourself into procrastinating by, I don't know, having a look at Google Earth and, seeing, how many lights you can see, or how many cars you can find yourself or any of your friends in any of the in the photos, or let's just have a look at Wikipedia, or let's watch some YouTube videos, and you start off watching one and you end up, being several hours later watching something utterly and completely
podcasts.
Different. Podcasts like this one. So it's there's a lot of similarity, I think, between them, and I think you have to take that first step, and if you take the first step, you can get over the procrastination, and if you take the first step, you can actually start doing something and putting yourself in the direction that you want to go in your life. So I mean, I have a neighbor. He's no longer a neighbor, but we were talking about the lottery. Every now and again we talk about lottery. You and I, we've talked about it as well. And he was, he was saying, oh, the lottery is is I never do the lottery, he says. And I said, well, I do the lottery every week. And, I just got direct debit set up and it just comes out. And he said, what? I'm surprised at you. I'm surprised at you, Jake. I can't believe that someone like you would do the lottery because, it's just a tax on the foolish, or a tax on the ignorant, or a tax on the stupid, I think he called it.
Mm.
And I totally get that point of view, because other people have told me that it's a tax on the stupid too, and that you can't possibly hope to win. But I was watching a TED Talks YouTube video, and this lady, she came on and she said, how many of you here would like to win the lottery? And everyone put your hands up, and everyone in the audience put their hands up, because who wouldn't want to win the lottery, And then she said, great. She said, me too. Then she said, well, how many of you here actually played the lottery this week? And only a very few hands actually went up. And she said, so you're defining, this is interesting, she said, you're actually defining yourself by, you're automatically assuming that you're not going to win the lottery. And so you take yourself out of the running. And she said, you've got to change that kind of mental attitude, and we all do it. But I mean, if you do that, if you just automatically assume you're going to fail, then you are guaranteed to fail. If you say, I'm not even going to bother buying the lottery because it's a tax on the stupid, only stupid people play the lottery, then you're not going to buy the ticket and you've got zero chance of winning. Whereas if you buy the lottery and you think, I probably won't win it, but there's a chance. I mean, it's a 1 in many million chance, so let's not hold our breath about it. But if we do buy it, then we have got a 1 in many million chance of winning. And the one thing is for sure is that every week someone wins, even if it's not the jackpot. Then they certainly, in the UK at least, you've got the millionaire, the raffle, and someone in the UK is guaranteed to win that millionaire raffle every week. So
I think it depends on how you look at it. Like, if there's someone who can't afford to play it, I don't personally think that they should. But if you're doing it because you never know when you might have a lucky day, and it's not like, I don't know, money that you need to spend on food or something.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, I see your point there. There's no doubt about it. You shouldn't be relying on it as a way out. That's for sure, because it's not going to be a way out. I mean, I personally know 2 people who've won the lottery. One in Canada, and it was $250,000, but this was, 30 years ago. So that was worth an awful lot of money back then. And one in the UK in 1996 or somewhere thereabouts, when the lottery in the UK was very, very new. And this person, she won £4.5 million, which is an awful lot of money. And she was about 21, 22 years old. So that was a pretty good way to start. She just finished university and got her degree. And on the Monday, she landed a dream job. And on the Saturday, she won the lottery. So it was a pretty good week that she had there. But I mean, it just goes to show it does happen. But you're right. If you can't afford it and you're desperate, you need to look at other means to make money rather than rely on luck and chance. That's for sure.
I think, statistically speaking, more people are going to lose more than they put in than what they get out. But as I said, there's you never know. So if you look at it the right way, then.
Well, I look at it like I mean, I've told you before, the way I look at the lottery is that, yes, I can afford to play the lottery. I mean, it's not a lot of money to pay every week, but it does add up over time. There's no doubt about it. But I regularly get messages from the National Lottery saying, congratulations, you have won your number, your ticket has been successful, you've won something. You need to visit the site and see what you won. And I always think, I'm a millionaire. And I just, for that time, and I hesitate to look, and I'm like, I can't resist looking. But at the same time, I can try and put it off. And now I'm better at it. Now I put it off longer. I think I'm not going to look anymore because I know that I haven't won it really, and I've won about £2 or something. Occasionally, I win about 5, which is pretty good. But I might have got my
Are
money
you
back.
playing with your mic at all? Because there's a little when
No,
you speak, there's a little sort of
okay.
clicky sound.
No, I'm not playing with it, but it's possible that it's
Like
it's
you're catching on a zip or something.
Yeah, something like that. Does it sound better now?
You can't hear anything now, no.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, yeah. Anyway, so what was I saying? I was just saying that I can afford it. I buy just one ticket because there's not really much point in buying more than one. With one, you've got a 1 in 2 million chance of more or less of getting the lucky dip or whatever it is, the raffle, which is what I play it for, because there's the chance of winning the actual jackpot are ridiculously small. But the chance of winning the raffle depend on how many people actually play. I mean, you never know. You might be really lucky, and for some weird, peculiar reason, hardly anyone plays the lottery that week, and your chances go up exponentially. But yeah, I mean, occasionally I win my stake back pretty much, or very occasionally a little bit more. But in that time, when I know that my ticket has been lucky, the longer I can leave it, on occasion,
is it like the endorphins start going off?
Oh, it's magic. It really is. You start thinking, well, I might be, I'd be walking down the street and I'm thinking, I might be walking down the street now as a millionaire. Nobody knows. I don't even know. I could be, and it's a bit like that experiment. Was it? They're always going on about in the Big Bang Theory, Thingy's cat. Remember that? You remember that one?
Where they like Schrodinger's
cat. Yeah. Didn't Schrodinger also have a dog? But anyway, it's a bit like Schrodinger's cat. The idea is that everything and anything is both simultaneously possible until it's observed, and it decides upon whether it's one thing or the other upon observation. It's a very complex theory, which I'm not going to pretend I begin to understand. But the essence of it is that they put some poison or something in the box, and then they put the cat in the box, and then they wonder if the cat is alive or dead. And at that time, they have to, they're suggesting that the cat is both simultaneously live and dead. Now, to you and I, it seems pretty obvious that if the cat ate the poison, then it's probably dead. And if the cat didn't eat the poison, then it's probably alive. It just seems logic. But, if anyone is listening to this and understands exactly how that experiment works, and if they can explain it in a coherent way, much more than I possibly could, then please do put it in the comments. But anyway, for me, it's a bit like that with the lottery. I see the little message saying, "Congratulations, your ticket has been successful." And between that time and the time I actually check to see that I've won £2, I am both a millionaire and not a millionaire. And it's a nice feeling to be both a millionaire and not a millionaire, especially the both millionaire bit. That's the best bit.
Well, I don't know whether it's an accurate statistic or not, but they say that something like 3/4 of the people who win the national lottery or the Euro Millions or whatever end up being worse off than they were before they won it. So
yeah,
and it reminds me of Mike Tyson as well, because Mike Tyson in his lifetime earned over $500 million, and he actually ended up going bankrupt.
Yeah, that's extraordinary.
It's not necessarily the amount of money that you earn or that you get hold of, but whether you can keep hold of it.
Well, that's really important. And in The Richest Man in Babylon, they talk about that, don't they? They talk about, the people who win money live in fear of losing it. And so they either become a bit of a miser, and they certainly can't enjoy the money, or they lose it, if they're a bit flamboyant with it. And most lottery winners, I think, fall into the more flamboyant category. You suddenly get this life-changing sum of money, and first thing you do is go out and change your life. And they don't really understand how how quickly the money. I mean, you will know. You get a nice lump sum of money in your bank account. You're like, oh yeah, happy days. Don't have to worry about bills or anything for a while. And then before you know it, you're, where did all that money go? And you've really got to be on top of it. And I suppose the more money you've got, the more on top of the money you really have to be. I mean, we could do a whole podcast about that alone, really. But
I'm sure we will do at some stage.
I mean, in terms of winning the lottery, though, both of the people I know who won the lottery are considerably better off now than they were when they won the lottery. So they both used the money in a really, really good way. I mean,
maybe it's a made-up statistic by someone that hasn't done any research. Well, that 99.9% of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, that's right. They're trying to bamboozle us. Is that what
This could actually start being a thing. You do realize that. The word of the day. How many times can we get it into a call?
Which word? Bamboozled?
Just anyone in the future.
Well, yeah. Well, why not?
Providing we're not bamboozled, of course.
Yeah, which I feel kind of bamboozled right now. But no, I mean, I have a theory which I live by when playing the lottery or doing anything like that, and it is this: it's that I have tax for my car, not tax. Sorry, I apologize. It's because of the tax for the stupid that confused me. I have got tax for my car, obviously, but I also have insurance for the car, and I have insurance for the house. And I have to pay the insurance because I'm legally obliged to pay for the car. I'm not sure that I'm legally obliged to pay for it for the house, but I feel a lot better knowing that it's there. If you have a mortgage on the house, you definitely need to have it to cover the mortgage lender, really. But if you've got a insurance on your house, you pay it every month, and you hope that you're never going to have to use it.
You have to pay for buildings. You don't have to pay for contents.
Right. Well, there you go. So you have to pay for buildings insurance, but let's assume then that you're paying for contents. Now you've got a lot of contents. You've built them up over the years, and you can't really afford to replace them if there was a flood or a fire or something. So paying the insurance every month is something that just makes you feel a little bit more relaxed. You don't have to worry about it anymore, because that if the worst case scenario, you're covered, and you can. I have done insurance claims, and they can be a real pain, but ultimately you'll get your money back. And with the lottery, I see it really in a similar way. I pay every month a direct debit, which gives me entry to the lottery every week, and it's not a lot of money, and I assume that I'm never going to see that money back, so I never worry about how much money it wins or loses. I really don't care if I win £5 or £20 or £50 or £150. It's not going to change anything at all, because I'm assuming that I'm going to lose that money, as I assume that I'm just wasting my money with an insurance payment. So it's the same kind of thing, except that it's converse, because I hope that I'm never going to have to claim on insurance. So I genuinely hope that I'm throwing that money and wasting all the money that I pay. Whereas with the lottery, it's the other way around. I hope that it will win, and that I'm not throwing the money away. But either way, it's to me, it's a pretty similar kind of concept.
It's actually quite funny, actually, because we started off the call by saying that one of the topics of discussion was going to be what other people decide to tell you that you can't do or what you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And if we theoretically say that you were going to win the lottery at some stage, and do you say it was your neighbour or one of your old neighbours that told you that you shouldn't?
Yeah, it was one of my old neighbours. Yeah.
Yeah, he's surprised that you play the lottery.
Yeah.
Because it's a tax on the poor or stupid or whatever.
Tax on the stupid. I took it as a compliment.
Imagine if you then decided not to play anymore because of those comments.
Yeah.
And in some sort of alternate reality where you didn't have that conversation, you'd end up being a multimillionaire as a result of it, as a perfect It's maybe the lottery isn't necessarily to do with achievement, but it's a perfect example of what we're talking about because of the influence that that person may or may not have had in your life.
No, you're absolutely right. There's no doubt about it. I mean, this is why originally when I played the lottery, I played the same number, and I just thought, I play this number. I mean, not that any number is completely random. You'd be better off playing a number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or something, because, well, you probably wouldn't, because there are probably a lot of people who play that number. But I mean, it's got just as much chance of the lottery coming out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as it has of any of the other numbers. But we all select numbers that mean something to us. And so, we tend to select birthdays or things like this that are important. My birthday is the 21st, so I'd pick number 21, and then I might pick my wife's one and my children's one, and so on and so forth. But that means that there are probably a lot of other people who are picking these numbers, and so you've got more chance that there's someone else out there with the same number. So I thought, ooh, that's not good, because I don't want to share my money. I'm far too greedy for that. But I thought, well, if I have the same number every week anyway, then if for 1 week I don't get it, could you imagine? I forgot to get the lottery that week or something, and your numbers come in. Oh, imagine the feeling that you would have.
I've heard that story as well, actually.
Oh, dear.
I don't know whether I'm sure it was, but
well, it's one of those like horrible scenarios, isn't it? It's but if you were to win the lottery, would you play again? Would you continue playing?
I have heard of one instance where someone has won twice.
So there you go. Yeah, you do.
I don't know why you would, though.
I don't know why you wouldn't when you think about it. If you've won once, then you've got, you know that it can win. But the odds of winning the lottery are ridiculously small either way. So I don't have it as any part of my life plan. It's just something that I put. I don't even think about it. It's exactly like paying insurance. I just literally give it no more thought than that. It's quite a small amount of money, and it comes out every month from my bank account, and I can afford that amount of money, so I just do it. And occasionally, as I say, well, quite regularly actually, I get these messages and my email saying congratulations, and I just get a good feel from that. So I know that I haven't won, but for it doesn't stop your the endorphins being released.
There you go.
Anyway, so there you go. So, but I mean, in more serious things, there are so many things that that people can do that have achieved, that wouldn't ever have been achieved if they'd have listened to people telling them not to do it. I mean, I could give you examples, but I could go on and on and on all day because there's just so many examples. In fact, everything is an example of that, because every single thing that's been achieved has been achieved by someone actually taking steps and doing it, taking a risk. And if they had listened to their inner voice or the people around them suggesting that they don't do it, then then they wouldn't have taken that step. So every single thing around us is that really.
There's an interesting other side of the coin to this as well, though, because you could also say, like, how do you determine between something that's literally impossible, where someone tells you shouldn't do it, as opposed to something which is, I don't know, more unlikely, or because there are things where if you try to do them, that nothing is going to happen for you.
That's right. But then they kind of dwindle out, don't they? They kind of fade away. You've tried things. You're a trier.
Sounds ominous.
Yeah, you've attempted all sorts of things, haven't you, in your life? You've attempted businesses and this, that, and the other, and some of them work, but most of them don't. And you give.
There's a really interesting video actually that I should have shared with you, which is there's something like the title. I fudged the title a bit, but there's something like the mindset of Michael Jordan, the psychopath, or something like that. And it's he's got a philosophy where he says you fail your way to success.
I like it. Yeah.
and it's an example of how the interactions he's had with other people, and how like there's one instance where he made up a story of how one of his, I think his opposition, an individual within the opposite team who has said something about him. So basically, he said to his own teammates, like, I am going to get a certain number of points. I think it was like 58 in the first half of this game or something like that, to prove that this person is wrong, or to get revenge or something like that. And he got 57, I think it was. So it was 1 point off it, and that's just an unbelievable amount to get in the first half of the game.
Yeah.
And he later admitted that he made it up, so it wasn't actually true. So yeah, you should check that out if you get a chance.
Look into that. Yeah, I definitely will. I you know, all of these things are really, really fascinating. The truth of the matter is that, you know, it's not just that. You've got to, like you say, failure way to success is brilliant, because you need to make the mistakes to learn. We all make mistakes and we learn. And, you know, when you've got a child and you kind of want to somehow impart your knowledge into that child's head so they don't make the same mistakes that you did, and it just doesn't work that way, you know. You can do so much, but they have to be able and willing to listen to your advice and to take it on board. And I think that's really, really asking a lot. But I remember many years ago, I saw this documentary on TV, and there was this guy. I won't go into it in too much detail because it's just quite a weird story. And this was a side story. It was his background, really. But he had been a property multimillionaire. He'd made millions through property. And then some stuff had gone wrong in his life, and he'd had a divorce, and he lost everything. He lost literally absolutely everything, and he was homeless for a while. And then a couple of years later, he was a millionaire again. And I remember being completely blown away by that. I was like, how on earth? I mean, not only did he make himself into him, and he was an immigrant who arrived in the UK with literally nothing as well. So he arrived with nothing. He was a refugee, in fact. And, you know, he built up this property empire, lost everything, was homeless, and then within a couple of years built it up again. And it just blew my mind, because so many millions and millions and millions of people start off with so much more than he, and end up with, you know, never being a millionaire at all. And not only, you know, would it be incredible for them to sort of think about losing the millions, but then he could quickly just, you know, duplicate the original methodology and get those millions back again. So here is an example of a man who definitely had made mistakes, and he'd also learnt by those mistakes, and he'd learned a methodology along the way, which enabled him to, you know, to recoup all his losses and completely rebuild his empire. Which I was just, you know, it made an impact on me. And I watched this when I was probably, I don't know, 18 or something. I was very young. But it really, I've never forgotten it, because, I mean, I don't remember anything else much about the documentary at all. I just remember his background kind of inspired me quite a lot. So he made mistakes. He didn't listen to people saying you can't do this and you can't do that. But then he after losing everything, the mistakes that he'd learned along the way, the mistakes were lessons that he'd learned along the way, which enabled him to do it all again, which I thought was amazing. So cool. There you go. If you listen to people and you listen to your own doubts, yes, you're right. You know. Oh, there's another thing. Just before I forget about this, I can't remember what it is. Was it Britain's Got Talent or something like that? One of these sort of TV shows. I don't watch them, but I have girls in my house, little girls, and they enjoy watching that kind of stuff. And I remember there were these two girls, and they were, you know, they were completely talentless. Let's just be, I'm not going to be polite about it. They were totally talentless. And yet their parents were there saying that they're fantastic and they're going to be huge stars and everything. And they were appalling, and they were so bad that they, you know, that they got shown in all the clips and stuff about, you know, in the auditions about how appallingly bad they were, and I just felt so sorry for these two girls because their parents had built them up. Oh, I have someone at the door. Sorry about that.
You want to call it there?
Yeah, I think we should probably. But yeah, their parents built it up, and then they, and they didn't have any talent. But on the other hand, at least they went for it. I mean, they had a big fall, but at least they went for it.
Don't get bamboozled by the person at the door.
I won't. Okay, but anyway, yeah, great little chat. Should we call it?
Yeah, bye, mate.
All right, take care. Thanks.
Bye.